major problem we had was at the time at the time Engelman was telling his wife this information, most of the information, it was during the time that they were married. So because of the marital privilege, almost all of that evidence was inadmissible in court.
The city of St. Louis hid a secret for over 2 decades. A killer who blended into the community so completely that even the authorities struggled to see him. He was methodical, calculating, and deadly. Glennon Engelman, a dentist by profession, used charm and intelligence as a mask for a horrifying life of murder for profit. For more than 30 years, he left a trail of bodies and fear, evading capture until law enforcement discovered his weakness: the people closest to him. It began quietly on the evening of Thursday, November 3, 1977. 2 men drove to a rural Illinois farmhouse. One remained in the car while the other introduced himself as a representative of the local farmers' union. Alan Graham, the homeowner, welcomed the visitor in, unaware that it would be the last conversation he'd ever have. By the time the men left, 2 lives had been extinguished. The murders shocked the community, yet little evidence surfaced to point to the perpetrator. 2 years later, tragedy struck again. One of the murdered couple's sons was found shot in the back of his car in East St. Louis, Illinois. Soon after, a woman working at a dental lab in St. Louis was killed in a car bomb explosion. Authorities began to piece together a chilling possibility: a serial killer with a pattern of violence motivated by greed. All roads seemed to point to a local dentist, Glennon Engelman, but proving it was another matter. Investigators initially tried to gather evidence by speaking with Engelman's ex-wife, Rita. For 2 days, she recounted confessions he had made during their marriage. But marital privilege blocked most of her testimony from being used in court.
He visited her residence to visit the child at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week. So he would come over there on a regular occasion. They would still go out to dinner together.
Without prosecutable evidence, law enforcement faced a difficult choice. How could they catch a man who was intelligent, cautious, and deeply paranoid about surveillance? The answer came with risk. Investigators asked Rita to cooperate in a dangerous plan: to wear hidden microphones in her home and gather direct evidence of Engelman's crimes. Fearful for her life, Rita hesitated. Engelman was known for his paranoia and had the capability to kill anyone who betrayed him. But she realized that the only way to protect herself and her son was to help law enforcement bring Engelman to justice.
Are the closest to him. The people that know him the most are the people that fear him the most. And the reason for that is that, they're aware of what his capabilities are. They're aware that he has no...
With careful planning, the FBI began wiring her condominium, ensuring agents were nearby in case of an emergency. The first target for the operation was the recent murder of Susan Barnes, whose death in a car bombing was still fresh in public memory.
A diabolical guy. And he talked a lot about the things that he would do to people. It gave us some insight as to what type of a man that he was and what type of a person we were dealing with.
Rita was instructed to bring up the incident in conversation when Engelman visited. The hope was that he might boast or reveal knowledge about the crime. Agents set up surveillance outside her home, listening closely as Engelman arrived with his son. The tension was palpable. Engelman tried to deflect responsibility, insisting he could have hired someone else to commit the murder. The threat in his voice was unmistakable, but he still spoke freely, giving investigators insight into his character. Calculating, remorseless, and coldly intelligent. Even with careful preparation, setbacks occurred. At one point, a family dog accidentally disrupted the equipment, almost compromising the operation. Every small error heightened the danger to Rita. Yet despite the risks, she continued, helping the agents capture valuable information. They learned Engelman was skilled with explosives and had meticulously planned each murder. Still, he denied killing anyone outright, leaving authorities to find additional ways to secure a conviction. Rita's ingenuity led to the next stage of the operation, taking the surveillance outside the home. To avoid arousing suspicion, she arranged dinner meetings with Engelman in public places, allowing hidden microphones to capture his conversation. Through subtle questioning, she coaxed him into discussing past murders without triggering his paranoia. Engelman revealed his motives: money, greed, and a chilling enjoyment of planning and executing crimes. But he never directly confessed to the killings in a way that would hold up in court. Investigators needed more. They began using media leaks strategically, publishing stories linking Engelman to unsolved murders. This pressure created opportunities for Rita to confront him indirectly. Each newspaper headline became a tool, a way to draw Engelman out and elicit revealing statements. During one conversation, he admitted receiving payment from a victim's family, discussing his schemes in cold, deliberate detail. The transcripts from these interactions would become central evidence, showing the breadth of Engelman's criminal activity and his manipulative methods. The breakthrough came when authorities turned to Engelman's accomplices. Bill Carpenter, a close friend, had refused to speak, but investigators identified two others who might cooperate: Jose Montoya and his sister, Maria, both connected to Engelman's schemes. Arresting all four simultaneously was the strategy, to prevent them from communicating and potentially destroying the case. Carpenter's eventual cooperation, in exchange for reduced sentencing,
and is exactly what we did want to happen. We wanted them separated from the get-go so that they wouldn't be able to talk. And what happened was Jose told her, "I'll take care of this. I'll do the talking. You keep your mouth."
Provided the critical insider testimony authorities needed. Maria's role was especially significant. Engelman had manipulated her into marrying a man solely for insurance purposes, instructing her to allow him and Carpenter to orchestrate his murder. She initially believed Engelman's guidance would keep her safe and secure her financial future, but when she understood the full extent of his intentions, she agreed to cooperate with investigators. Her testimony, combined with the tapes captured from Rita, provided a full picture of Engelman's operations, a calculated pattern of murder for profit spanning decades.
She felt that Engelman had committed all these murders over the course of 22 years, had never gotten caught. And she felt that if she followed his advice, followed his direction, the fact that he didn't get caught, she would never get caught either.
With direct and corroborating evidence in hand, authorities moved to prosecute. Engelman's trial began in September 1980. Portions of the taped conversations were played for the jury, with Rita testifying to identify voices. Engelman's demeanor shifted dramatically when confronted with the tapes, revealing the sinister, cold-blooded persona beneath his polite exterior. The jury saw the mask fall, witnessing firsthand the man who had orchestrated a series of murders with ruthless precision. The verdict was swift. After deliberating for just 55 minutes, the jury found Engelman guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison. Carpenter received 17 years for his role in the crimes, while Engelman faced additional life sentences for other murders, including the bombing of Susan Barnes. Prosecutors continued investigating his potential involvement in other deaths, including the Graham family murders, which had occurred years earlier. Initial confessions by another suspect, Alan Jackson, had to be carefully unraveled to ensure the correct perpetrators were prosecuted. The case of Glennon Engelman remains a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity. A man who wore a mask of normalcy for decades.
And we're here to talk to you to see if you want to make a deal with us. Now, I want to tell you that I have the discretion to decide who gets the death penalty and who doesn't.
A dentist who killed not out of passion but out of greed and a twisted sense of amusement. His crimes were calculated, his victims carefully chosen, and his manipulations extended to those closest to him. It took courage, risk, and the cooperation of those who had lived under his shadow to finally bring him to justice. Even today, the investigation serves as a study in patience, strategy, and the complexities of prosecuting intelligent, methodical criminals. From wiretaps to media manipulation, from secret recordings to careful witness coordination, law enforcement had to navigate a web of deceit, danger, and moral compromise. And through it all, the victims' stories, and the bravery of those who risked their lives to stop Engelman, remain at the heart of the narrative. Glennon Engelman's life ended behind bars, but the legacy of his crimes lingers. He had taken lives, corrupted the innocent, and challenged the justice system in ways few ever have. For the investigators, it was a reminder that evil often hides behind ordinary facades, and catching it requires both courage and cunning. And for the families affected, it was a long-awaited closure, earned through tireless work, careful strategy, and the bravery of those who refused to be intimidated by a killer who once seemed untouchable.